Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Now I assume you all know the Avatar series. It's one of the best in Nickelodeon's history. So today I'm just going to be reacting to some hot takes I found about it online. Without further ado, let's get straight to it. Alright, first one. Not sure how cold this is, maybe more of a lukewarm take. Season 2 is the most consistently excellent season. It's pretty much pure excellence from 206 on to 220. And at least 2 of the episodes among the first 5 are also really strong. The super serialized by Atlas standards, but Sensei storyline is full of intrigue, and Zuko's arc through season 2 is a storytelling masterclass. I have to agree with this one. Season 1 started off slowly, in my opinion, but then it really picked up steam once they reached the Northern Water Tribe episodes. Season 3 was excellent. The only problem I have with it a little bit is that it seems like the lion turtles came out of nowhere. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like they did come out of nowhere. After all, somewhere and got a glimpse of them in season 2. It's not like it's a big deal to me anyways. I'm not going to blow season 3 out of proportion just because of something as small as that. But season 2 just was fantastic throughout. Every episode was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. And of course, season 2 was where Zuko's character arc really started. I have to give season 2 its flowers. Next, I've always felt season 3 should have been a little more plot driven and a little less character driven. Over the years, I've accepted that the run of what I call Zuko errands were probably necessary to set up the finale, but they really rushed Aang learning firebending. It's basically all off screen. I'd say I've also come to appreciate seeing the Fire Nation citizens and how they live and how they're indoctrinated. Well, I think season 3 was done okay. So, in fact, not okay, it was done very, very well. I don't think the plot needed to overshadow the characters. The characters were the reasons why we kept on watching. If they totally abandoned them, then that would have been really, really bad. And yes, I know it did feel like they rushed Aang learning firebending. But then, at the same time, if you watch the episodes, you'd see that Aang was consistently learning firebending with all of his free time that he had with Zuko. So yes, while it was not shown to us, I don't think it was rushed. And he also had some practice in season 1 with John Jong. Yes, I know he didn't practice firebending again, but the potential was still there. In fact, he could do it, he just needed to learn control. And yes, you are right, it was really nice to see how the people of the Fire Nation were, and to know that not all of them were just mindless soldiers. And it was a little bit heartbreaking to see all of the children in schools getting brainwashed into believing that the Fire Lord was the good guy. Next, the gang became bending masters way too quickly. Reply: agreed. Why are 12-year-olds able to go toe-to-toe with ancient bending masters? I don't care that Toph is a prodigy. She should not be much of a challenge to a 100-year-old earth-bending titan who single-handedly took back his city with only his face. Why is Katara pushing Pakun, or it's supposed to be Paku, after practicing with the scroll for a few weeks? Why is Aang's firebending even relevant during his Ozai fights? As much as I love this show, this always bugged me. For one thing, those guys are prodigies. It makes sense as to why Toph is one of the greatest earthbenders to ever live. Apart from the fact that she's constantly earthbending. I mean, seriously, earthbending is basically her life. She actively participated in underground tournaments, developing her skills and actually going on to win the competition. In fact, even being famous there. Obviously, we know why Aang is a fantastic airbender. As for Katara, I do feel like she kind of grew in skill really, really, really quickly. But I don't think it was too bad, because at the end of the day, everybody has different potential. And her fight with Paku was very good. She just did that to make a point. She didn't really try to win. There was no way she could have beaten Paku. Paku was seriously holding back, even when it seemed like he had locked in. He was still holding back very, very much. If that was a fight to the death, he would have ended her in 10 seconds. So I do see where you're coming from. At the same time, I don't feel like it improved a little bit too easily. Which leads me on to this point. My devil's advocate take would be this: they are not prodigies because they are the main characters. They are the main characters because they are the prodigies. That's the reason the story is about them. Toph would not be a part of the gang if she wasn't a child prodigy. She wouldn't have even met them. Azula would not be the antagonist if she wasn't a prodigy. She never would have even been sent on the journey. If Mei and Tai Li weren't talented, Azula wouldn't have bothered to recruit them. If Aang wasn't the Avatar, the story wouldn't be about him. It'd be about whoever the Avatar was. Basically, the high-stakes nature of the show's conflict inherently selects for highly talented individuals on both sides. The only time when this really bothered me in the show is with Sokka's master. Both Katara and Sokka are in the story more or less by coincidence, but Katara's journey to mastery is slow and stretched out over 3 seasons, so it feels natural. The same could be said of Sokka's journey as a leader, but the timeline for the episode Sokka's master is so condensed. Sokka becomes highly proficient with a sword in 2 days, despite never having used one before. Even by the show standard, that's crazy. This take is excellent. I mean, seriously, they are prodigies. We are not following them because they are average benders. They are the best of the best. And since we don't know how long it actually took for an average bender to get to, their own level, we really can't say whether the members of the gang actually improved too quickly or not. Yes, they improved quickly, but I don't think it was by much. And as for the Sokka's master episode, I even noticed that on first watch. He became so good with the sword. I mean, his master was literally able to go toe-to-toe with firebenders using his sword alone. He was so well respected in the Fire Nation army that he was even left to do his own thing. So how the hell did Sokka learn all of those skills so quickly? I get why they did it, because at the end of the day, we are here for the bending, not for swordsmanship. So they just did it quickly and got it done and over with. But yeah, that seemed a little bit unrealistic to me. Alright, I'm going to take these points one at a time. Aang was completely justified with his anger in the desert. Yes, he was justified to be angry. Did he make a mistake by blaming Toph? Yes. Well, who doesn't make mistakes when they are angry? In the finale, Zuko was an idiot for asking Azula to make lightning. He basically asked to get shocked, and Katara should not have been standing in the battlefield. Zuko was teasing Azula. It's like fighting your little brother and asking him to punch you, knowing that his punches are not going to do shit. I don't think he was being an idiot, he was just teasing her. And yes, I agree with you in the sense that Katara should not have been there. Zuko explicitly told Katara that he wanted to take Azula one-on-one so that nobody else would have to get hurt. Why did Katara just have to randomly appear on the battlefield again, despite being warned to stay away? I didn't like that. I get why they wanted to do it. They wanted Katara to do something, but she put her life at serious risk for no reason, simply by not doing what Zuko told her to do. It's completely understandable that Aang didn't want to kill Ozai, and the Lion Turtle plot was a beautiful ending for Aang's character, and it made sense that he'd want to preserve his culture. Yes, I agree, simple as that. Toph is the most sensible one in the gang. Well, all of them are smart in their different ways, and I assume the reason why you're saying this is because she was the one that first saw Zuko as the potential help that the Avatar needed, and she was the one that even actively went to reach out to him. But you could understand why the other members of the gang didn't want to reach out to Zuko. After all, the time when Zuko was the main villain of the show was, season 1. And Toph was not in season 1, so she didn't know how much trouble that Zuko really gave those guys. So it makes sense as to why they didn't want to accept him so quickly. Next, General Fong kinda had a point. Oh yeah, even Aang knew that he had a point, but the thing is he had to still learn how to control the Avatar state the right way. That was the whole point of that episode. Next, Blue Spirit was the best episode of Book 1 and one of the best episodes of the series. I don't know if it was the best of Book 1, but I can agree it is one of the best of the whole series. It was really, really good. Katang was the only option. There should have been better romantic moments for them in the second half of Book 3. Once again, I agree. I don't think that needs more explanation. The old man that snitched on Haru is just a victim of imperialism and shouldn't be vilified so harshly. Yes and no. I get why he did it, but he put a boy's life at stake for no reason. Azula deserves just a tiny bit of sympathy. I think that was what the beach episode in season 3 tried to show. So yeah, you are right, but at the end of the day, she's still evil. Simple as. The gang shouldn't have accepted Zuko into their group so quickly. I mean, did you watch those episodes? They clearly didn't accept him into the group so quickly. What did you want them to do? Especially when Aang really needed a firebending teacher. He got accepted at the right time, and even then he didn't still fully get accepted. Sokka and even Aang still had some slight trust issues, while it took Katara a very long time to fully forgive him. Avatar The Last Airbender had the best TV series finale of any show ever made. Well, I don't know if it's the absolute best. I mean, there's so many very great shows out there, but man, this show had a fantastic ending. I can agree with that take. Next, Aang completely outclassed Ozai in the final battle. Were it not for the comet, he would have had almost no chance at stopping Aang. Aang going into the Avatar state wasn't necessary other than to completely humiliate him and allow Roku to blow off some steam from his past failure, and also to show us just how far the gap was between them, with the most impressive mastery of bending we'll ever probably see. A pompous, narcissistic pampered boy king versus a several times reincarnated demigod with a fury millennia old. Also, maybe a little warm, but Aang having his pressure point hit and him finally going fully into the Avatar state wasn't really stupid or an ass pull. Aang couldn't do it for personal issue and conflict with his past lives after taking on the turtle. He was completely out of balance and harmony. He probably just got temporarily knocked out and the state activated as a failsafe to keep him from dying. I agree with this take. The comet boosted Firelord Ozai. Yes, I know it slightly boosted Aang too, since by technicality the Avatar is a firebender, but mostly it boosted Ozai. And Aang was playing defensive for most of the fights. He actively even didn't want to kill Ozai, and clearly the show writers just did that to show how insanely powerful the Avatar state is supposed to be. They made it seem like Aang was losing at first, so that we'd feel tension, so that when the Avatar state finally, clicked, we'd feel a huge sense of relief and awe at the same time. Now, I feel like Aang having his pressure point hit at such a dire moment was a little bit of plot armor, but I'll let it slide. There are some times in life where coincidences just happen, or God actively just helps you, or whatever spiritual being you serve, or whatever. So, as a result, I'm not going to blow that out of proportion. At that point in time, I still don't think that Aang fully mastered the Avatar state. As you said, he got activated as a fail-safe, just like he did in season 1. The only difference is that this time he had a bit more control and he was able to actively tap out of the Avatar state without needing external help. But to actually get into that state, I don't think he had fully mastered that yet. Now, obviously, he learned how to do that along his journey. I do think that if Aang actively wanted to attack Ozai, he could have beat him. There's a reason why he spent a whole year training for that moment. After all, I personally believe that bending one element is crazy enough. Bending 2 is overpowered. Bending 3 is something else. Then being able to bend 4, all 4 is extraordinary. So you don't have any reason to lose any fights. And then on top of that, you have the Avatar states. Aang outclassed Ozai, and it wasn't even close. Next, energy bending is a cop-out. Aang should have slayed the Fire Lord, a far more interesting character challenge. This take is not even just a problem with Avatar, but with superheroes in general who just choose not to kill. Everybody keeps on saying that it would be more interesting if a character kills this person, if a character does blah 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 blah. But all I'll simply say is there's a reason why Batman is way more famous and more interesting than the Punisher. Killing doesn't necessarily make you more or less interesting. It's just a choice. The reason why you even made this comment right now is because you are interested in the fact that Aang didn't kill Ozai. If someone totally going out of character is what pleases you, well then I don't know what to tell you, because Aang is simply the last airbender. He needs to carry on his culture. Imagine if he killed the Fire Lord and then he tried to teach Tenzin that airbenders don't kill. The hypocrisy there would be insane. He had to carry on his culture, whether you liked it or not. Maybe if there are other airbenders around, he could have considered killing Ozai more, but the fact that he was the absolute last airbender in the world at that point meant that he had to be true to himself and to his culture. Now, you are valid in the sense that energy bending kind of feels like a cop-out, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Next, they should have spent more time characterizing Azula, her past and her more vulnerable moments, to make her breakdown feel more compelling. Her breakdown was already compelling. They didn't need to do that. Simple as. If they did, then that would have become her own show. She would have been, Zuko 2.0. They would have probably made the mistake of making her seem like a fully sympathetic villain. Meanwhile, even as a child, she was showing signs that she was the spoiled brat. They didn't need to focus on her too much. She was done just right. So I'd understand wanting to see more of her, but they didn't need to do it. She was done very, very well. And it was very, very compelling either way. Next, season 1 was too childish. I know it's a kid's show, but season 1 stands out with the silliness and humor in a way that makes me feel like it's a show for children. Whereas season 2 and 3 have humor, but it feels more natural and not like it's targeted just to young kids. Season 1 having more humor doesn't take away from the quality of the show. I don't know why, but it's as if that anything that is catered towards children all of a sudden somehow has less quality. That's not the case. Yes, I do agree that season 1 has more silly humor than the rest, but it didn't take away from the show's quality, in my opinion. And it's not just for children, it's for everyone. That's why the show is great. Next, Zuko carried the show for me towards the end. Aang's cool too, but I was far more invested in his story. It's as if that they kind of forgot about Aang's journey, except in the episode that came before the Day of Black Sun, where he was genuinely afraid of having to face the Fire Lord. I liked that episode. And then they hit the brakes with his character again, onto the series finale where he started facing the dilemma of having to kill the Fire Lord or not. But with Zuko, it was basically constantly about him throughout season 3. So yes, you are right in this sense. Next, Aang winning by taking Ozai's bending was an unsatisfying cop-out of an ending. Ozai wasn't dangerous because of his personal fighting ability. He was dangerous because he was the Fire Lord. If Ozai was an extremely weak bender or even an outright non-bender, it doesn't impact the events leading up to the story in any meaningful way. I get why they did it with the show being made for kids. They obviously weren't going to have Aang just waltz in and slaughter Ozai, but I feel it wasn't really a meaningful win. I have explained why him taking away Ozai's bending instead of killing him wasn't a cop-out. But yes, you are right in the sense that Ozai was the Fire Lord. That was what made him dangerous. But the thing is, in Fire Nation tradition, they basically rose to the top via physical power and Agni Kai. Ozai was not strong enough to challenge Zuko and actively take away his throne by the time Aang took away his powers. Also, by that point in time, he had already made Azula Fire Lord, and he was going to make himself the Phoenix King by the time he finished taking over the Earth Kingdom. So, Zuko fought Azula for that Fire Lord position and won it with Katara's help. Then Aang, being the Avatar, was now the one that had the political power and authority to defeat Ozai and put him in jail. So while I do get where you're coming from, I don't think it was a meaningless win. Got a few, not unpopular, but unpopular in relativity. 1. Kyoshi is overrated. 2. Azula is overrated, and I seriously don't understand why people like her over Zuko. 3. Zutara is kind of stupid. 4. Katang is good, but could have been a little better, just a tiny bit. 5. Shyamalan's CGI looked pretty good for 2010, but that's the best part of the movie. As for your first point, yes, I do believe Kyoshi is overrated as fuck. That's mostly because she's one of the only avatars that is actively okay with killing. Now, don't get me wrong, she's still one of the best avatars in history, but she's overrated as fuck. Seriously, man, I get tired of people glazing her online for every small thing that she does. It's really, really weird. 2. I don't think that Azula is overrated. She genuinely is one of the best characters in the show. Now, I don't think I have actively seen where people liked Azula more than Zuko. Heck, Zuko is probably the character that gets the most glaze in the series. I don't think she is overrated. And even if she is, it's not by much. As for your third point, yes, I fully agree that Zutara is very, very stupid. But seriously, if they were to date each other, that relationship would fail quickly. Whoever wants them to be together is simply a fan of fanfic. Simple as that. Shoot me if you want to. Yes, Katang is good. I also do wish that they were slightly developed more. Now, it's not the show's fault. No matter how good the show is, it can't do everything all at once. They were focusing on war and getting better with their bending skills and all of that. So I get why they didn't just fully focus on relationships in the show, generally speaking. So yes, while it could have been better, it was still fine. And as for your fifth point, I think the movie CGI, in fact, everything about that movie was shit, including the CGI. And let's not even talk about this scene. Yeah, I just think that movie was ass, and there's no changing my mind about that. Now, as for my hot take, I believe the Avatar series, more specifically The Last Airbender, is the greatest series in fiction. Oh, and by the way, Sokka is the GOAT.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for watching the video. Please like, subscribe, and share the video. Heck, you can even comment on what video I should do next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Now, how do I end this video?